Look, I told you I said I wasn't going to wait. Hey, it's Romania Black. We're on the final episode of Trigun Stampede. No big deal. I couldn't help it. I was like, I have to know what happens after that last episode. Can you blame me? So I'll definitely be reading the comments and answering everybody, which I'm excited now. I'll be caught up with everybody in the comments for Trigun Stampede. Now, obviously, I've not read the manga. I've not read Trigun Maximum. I'm supposed to be getting the volumes of those starting this spring, so that'll be exciting. I can start doing manga reactions of Trigun when I get them. So that's exciting, but I'm just really, really curious to see what's going to end up happening. So that's always a fun, exciting time. So, but I'm really curious to know how this goes down. Like, what is going to end up happening? I've never felt so, like, I felt so much empathy for Vash, and I want to save him. I want to, like, grab him and get him out of there because he doesn't want to be there, and he's stuck there, and Knives is like, I gotta go into this other dimension, bro. Happy birthday. And I'm like, stop. And I feel like, I think I would relate most to Meryl in this situation because Meryl wants to help Vash, but she's powerless. She doesn't know how to do so. Wolfwood's off trying to make an existential decision, and I'm like, just do the damn thing or don't do the damn thing. Yeah, at this point, I'm like, either Wolfwood needs to just do the damn thing and help save Vash, or go off and find Livio and leave Vash. Like, at this point, I could understand him doing either one. But poor Meryl, she just can't, he doesn't have any agency at this moment, and it's so sad to see. She's very much similar to Vash, wanting to help, but not knowing how, you know? And that the fact that Knives has, like, made Vash forget all of his friends and forget his memories, I hate that. I'm like, what is Knives going to be doing? There's all this weird sci-fi stuff going on. I'm like, is Zazie going to be the Deus Ex Machina? Because we saw those worms going towards it at the end. Is Zazie going to be like, oh, that looks like it's a problem. Maybe we should go with humanity. So I'm curious if Zazie's going to do anything to help. I don't know. We haven't seen Livio or Blue Summers, so who knows where they are. Poor Roberto's dead, which there's our body count. To make predictions before we go into this final episode, I don't feel like Knives is going to die. I feel like Knives is going to escape. Do I think Knives is going to bring over any of the plants to the other side as independence, like Elendira is? I don't know. We haven't seen Elendira in a while. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I think Blue Summers and Livio are going to be the next season. But how are they going to rescue Vash? And is Vash going to be able to rescue himself? I have so many ideas of what I think could go down, but I don't know what's going to happen. That's the big thing. And that's kind of why I didn't want to wait. I wanted to go ahead and see what was going to happen to get ahead of spoilers. But after this episode, we'll obviously be taking a hiatus until season 2 comes out. And then hopefully for season 2, hopefully I will have a spot open close to when season 2 comes out, and I can just incorporate it into my schedule and watch week to week with you all. That would be exciting. I would like that. Hopefully that's the case. And in the meantime, as I'm getting Trigun Maximum, the manga, I'll be able to do reactions of those with you all. So that'll be fun too. So yay. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I want to give a major shout out over to Patreon, to the philanthropy tier, to thank you all for helping me to not only do these reactions, but being with me for the Trigun reactions as they were. I want to give a special shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Anna, to Be Happy, as well as to Danger Zone, Dana, Destiny Marie, as well as Edgar, Eric, Kiri, Loisaji, Lyndon, Matthew Palfinier, to Sunspots, to Shimoyama, to Trails, and Translucent Men. Thank you all so much for all of your support and your kindness. Thanks to everybody on Patreon, everybody on YouTube that subscribed. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So, I don't know if we're getting this OP or not. I'm going to miss the OP. Gonna miss it. Love how it tied all back and everything. The ED was really, the ED was such like a, you know, some of the EDs that are kind of like messed up. I think of Jujutsu Kaisen season 1, and I think of Skate the Infinity. They're just really upbeat little boppy EPs, and like all this tragic stuff happens, and it's like da 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 da, and you're like, oh. I kind of felt that last episode when you had all this like doom and gloom and terror, and then it was just like dee dee dee, and you're like, oh, this lullaby is not fitting anymore. But yeah, what do we do? I guess we're gonna see what happens is what we're gonna do. So I'm going to tell my dog to go lay down. We're going to watch stuff. Go lay down. And we're going to see what happens. So, but anyway, I hope you all are excited. I am too, but we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive right into Trigun. Stampede, episode 12. We're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I like when I started this series, I was really unsure because I'll be honest, the first 2 episodes of Trigun Stampede, I was like, I don't know, this is not exactly, it was like it was trying to be very much like the original series, and that's not spoiling anything from the original series, but it was trying to be like it, but it wasn't quite getting there, and I was like, I don't know. And then people said that rule of 3, you got to give it to that 3rd episode and see if you like it or not, and that 3rd episode was like, it clicked, and it was like, no, on board. I was really in love with this season finale. Oh, I'm sorry. I am not a doom and gloom ending person. I'm sorry. I watch media like this as a form of escape, like anybody else does. And our world is so terrible in so many aspects. And I'm a very positive person, but I recognize that our world is not perfect and there's a lot wrong with it. And it can be very doomy and gloomy at times. So, you know, you watch series like anime and you read manga to like escape away from that to something, into a world where better possibilities are there. And that helps you inspire to be a better person to help, you know, influence the world. There's my soapbox. And so I'm not really into like the doom and gloom series. I know that there's a place for them, and I know that there's a place for ambiguity. Like, I compared last episode a lot to End of Evangelion and Neon Genesis, and that is a series that has a very kind of ambiguity to its despair versus its hope. And that's fine. It has its place. But when I see a character like Vash, who is so positive and is so like, Vash is such a great person to aspire to be like, in the sense that he never gives up, in the sense that no matter how many bad things happen to him, he doesn't give up and he keeps on trying to move forward and trying to be a better person. Like, in regards to that, like, that's my jam. Like, I look up to Vash for that reason. I love him as a protagonist because of that. And so seeing him so helpless in the last episode, I was like, I want somebody to help Vash, like anybody to help Vash. And the thing about it is that yes, Vash saves Meryl, and then Wolfwood saves Meryl, but she was the voice. She had faith in him, just like he wanted to have faith in humanity. Part of it was humanity had to have faith in him and also believe in his, you know, trying to have kindness too. So let's talk about this. We're going to put Meryl up here. We're going to put Vash up here. We're going to put Wolfwood up here. We're going to put Zazzy over here. Talk about Zazzy a little bit. And then Knives. Dear sweet Knives. Our homeboy Knives. Is he dead? I don't think so. No. If anything, I don't think Knives is dead. No. I think that Knives may be incapacitated for a while. Could be. And maybe Knives is dead, but I don't think so. I think if Knives was dead, he would have fully disintegrated. I think they would have actually shown his body just completely coming apart like the geranium blossoms. I think they would have shown us that, but they don't. They don't show us that, and so I'm gonna put connections over to OG here so that we can have it for the spoiler corner. We're gonna put that right there, so that way I can remind you, because I'm thinking of them as I'm talking to you all. But my God, what a great season finale. I was like, holy shit, it was great. And so then we have the idea that Earth, they've been there for 200 years since they left Earth, trying to find a new place to colonize, right? And I love the callback to being like a Western and to cowboys where they stand up for their friends and beat the bad guys, which is kind of a callback to the OG series feeling like a Western. This is more of a sci-fi, which is another reason I like Stampede, because it kind of takes its sci-fi roots that were barely explored in the original series and kind of just expands upon them. And I kind of like that it becomes its own thing through that. But I just love that Rim, and even Knives kind of gets into like the cowboy thing where he's like bang bang, and Vash is like, I don't like that stuff. Vash is like, I don't like you killing people. And Rim's like, oh, look, you two. And she takes them to see the plants and says that Project Seeds is hope for a future for humanity and for plants. And so then they ask, well, how come we're the only ones that can live outside of the casings? And she says, I think that you two are gifts sent by God. Now, without spoiling anything too much, that is the excuse that Rim gives in the original series as well. Doesn't really answer our questions, but it's the idea that their independence, they were born from plants and they can live outside of the casings in their world. They're able to kind of cross over and bridge both worlds together. So it is this idea of, I'm going to use the word hub by Vash, but a way to be a gate between humanity and the plants. Because, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. She says that she wants to protect them, right? She says you two are gifts of like God and are like angels. When she said that they're like angels, I was really hoping that Vash would like become angelic and would have like angel wings coming off of him or something, but that seems like it might be a little bit too cliche for Dragon Stampede, maybe a little bit. I love an angel motif, so the idea of Vash being angelic, I like wanted him to have angel wings, and who knows, maybe season 2 will get that, right? Although there was something really freaking cool about Vash having these like dark celestial, like these dark root-like wings instead with flowers coming off of them and like purple geraniums. I thought that was pretty cool. I liked the idea of Vash with the black coat instead of the red geranium coat. It was like all black, and he was just the contrast of Vash in all black versus Knives in all white. I thought was really well done. I liked that a lot. I thought visually that looked really, really good in the season finale. And I kind of like the idea of Vash having like a wing made of roots and being nature. Because again, that ties to this idea of nature and Vash trying to preserve it, right? It kind of ties to the idea of Vash trying to preserve nature and being there for both humanity and the plants. I like it. And it's the idea that Vash is a plant himself. Even though Knives says he's a terrible one, it's like he's going back to his roots. Right? But yeah, God, I love this episode so much. And she's like, whatever happens, I'll protect you. Always. And so, yeah, which is very interesting because Knives takes that line about protection and applies it to Vash too. And what's so sad about that whole scene under the tree when Vash calls Knives out and he's like, you're not the one who said that to me. Rim said it to me. The sad thing about that is that no, Knives has said he wants to protect Vash too, but Rim did as well. And the thing that's kind of like the horrible thing that Knives did was he tried to take that protection that Rim offered and claim it all for himself. He tried to say that he's the only one that cares about Vash. He's the only one that wants to protect Vash when that wasn't true. Knives couldn't handle the fact that someone else, much less a human, also wanted to protect Vash as well. And he's like, no, he's my brother. Let me do it. So it's kind of like this yandere brotherly protective vibe taken to the ultimate extreme. But what's sad is that Vash ends up determining that Knives didn't think that when he did. So it's very sad. But we independents will bring a new order to this world. Oh my God. And it's the birth of a new world, and this giant plant that's been created, right? That looks kind of like Rim, just saying. Oh, and then this unknown object that appears in July. Yeah, and Wolfwood's like, it's the end of the world. And then Meryl's like, the fudge is going on. And Knives has gone to the other side of the gate. And Meryl's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, we can't possibly fathom it. It's this higher world. He's going to try to connect to the planet core. The planet core that looks like an egg. Let's just talk about it. We talked about sexual innuendos last episode, and welcome back to part 2, because in part 2, they are very explicit and not hard to determine. So it's basically the idea that the planet core is an egg. for the plants. And guess what Knives is? Knives is essentially the sperm. And he's going to impregnate these plants to birth a whole bunch of independents. Like Alindira. More of those. And he's basically using Vash as the instrument to do so. How brotherly of him. What a great sibling thing to do. Be like, Vash, bro, I know it's your birthday, but you want to help me out? I want to have like a huge family. I don't want to wait around. Can I just give you like 20 nieces and nephews like right off the bat, please? The imagery of Knives' sperm-like tentacles trying to penetrate this egg is not lost upon me, nor is the idea that they basically spell it out saying that he's going to artificially impregnate all the plants to create new independence. I'm like, look, Knives, if you wanted to start a family, I think there were different ways to go about it. But he couldn't access the egg to let this happen unless he used Vash. And it's like, it's some body horror. He's like, how him and Vash were born. So that does beg the question, how was the original plant that gave birth to Vash and Knives able for this to happen? Unless the humans found a way to get into the higher plane, or unless it was just an act of God, however you want to phrase it. It's like Knives is trying to play God and create all of these new plants. I'm glad he didn't succeed. I'm glad he didn't impregnate these plants that didn't ask to be impregnated. I'm glad. That's great. He's like, and then after he's like got 20 or so new children, he's going to wipe out humanity and create this new world and just not need anybody. The thing that sucks about it is that, you know, he was just going to use Vash as a port, as a hub, as they say. He's like, Vash is the hub for the gate opening. And he's just being used. The only way to close it now is to destroy the gate, which would mean you would kill Vash for it to happen. And it's just this weird obsession that Knives has, that Knives, he's obsessed with the idea of the core. He was obsessed with his goals. He gets to the point where he's so obsessed with his purpose and his mission to wipe out humanity that he forgets he's literally using his brother, and his brother will live out the rest of his days as a vegetable being used for, you know, for propagating the plants and killing humanity, which is the opposite of what Vash would do. And he's like, this is the power you had inside you all this time. And yeah, it's Vash that is, you know, the one to have the power. So yeah, this plant's basically destroying the city, and I like that Zazzy's like, well, we're getting out of here because this kind of went south. This did not go as planned. And I like that Wolfwood's like, wow, are you happy? Are you glad this worked out for you? He's like, it's too bad. If you had a network on your own, you could have made death obsolete. That seems very interesting, that it's noted that if Wolfwood had a way to like channel his power, he could stay immortal without needing the serum to keep himself regenerating. And Wolfwood's like, well, I'm not like them entirely. So no. And then Wolfwood's like, well, what am I going to do? I'm glad he went back. I'm also glad that Meryl never gave up. I love that Meryl has this spirit, that Meryl keeps this faith in Vash. I love it. I don't think that's going away. I think we'll talk about this in the end of the episode. I don't think that's going away. I think she's still going to have faith in Vash, and she's still looking for him. But Vash is hiding out right now as Eric's is his nickname, and he seemingly has lost his memories and can't quite remember them. But I'm like, I hate this idea that they're like, Vash has been reborn as a plant. And that he's just going to be used as a conduit to take one power from one plane to the other. But then she saves him, he saves her. I love it. I just love the idea that he brings him back, right? And that song that he sings, it's so sweet. I love it. The little lullaby. And he's like, do you think we can get along with humans? And Knives keeps telling him no. But I love that Rim keeps coming back. She keeps coming back, and that mission that he has. She's like, I'm sorry I left you all alone, but my hopes and my dreams, you keep protecting them. And that's when he sees Meryl. I love the contrast of the red flowers and the green light that comes off of Vash. It's beautiful. And then Knives just gets booted out. I love it. The green with the purple and the darkness. I love it. And then they form that cube that Vash has control of. This entire sequence for like the next third of this episode where it's Knives versus Vash is amazing. It's the cinematography of it, the choreography of the fight, the way the CGI works, the music. I love Vash in all black. The way that like they do. There was that shot of him reloading the gun early on in the season, and then you see it again this time, and it's so much faster. It's just like he got faster with it. It's just, it's incredible. I'm like, Studio Orange, you kind of outdid yourself, and then slowly it all comes back. I think the plant retracting itself is when Wolfwood's like, okay, I can go back and help now. Something's gone down. But Vash trying to control the mass, right? And I like that we tie back to the fact of the gate. That ties back to the gate access that he has control over. So yeah, back when Vash and them were younger and Knives saw that, he realized that if he had Vash and he could control Vash's ability, he could get to the other plane and repopulate the Independence. And so that kind of spurred him into motion. I love Vash's hair gets like, it's like sticking up on end, right? And it's like all darker underneath there. It's great. Like, it's so good. Just the two of them battling it out. It's everything about this battle is great. And like all the plants surrounding them. And Knives is like, I want to go there again. Take me back there. I love that Knives has it's so cool because the contrast, Knives has the wing made out of blades that's coming off him, the knives and the metal. And then Vash has the wing made out of the earth and it's just like something that's seemingly, ironically, Knives has stuff that seems man-made on him and Vash has nature. So it's like nature versus something that's artificial. Just all the symbolism, everything. Give me there. But Knives being obsessed with wanting to go back to the higher dimension. Everything about this sequence is amazing. I do think the only thing that was really hokey about this episode was when the screen the doctor had the little thing pop up and said cube. Like it automatically had assimilated that information and knew what the cube was, even though it's this new thing that they have no clue about. That was the only weird part of the episode that distracted me a little bit. He's like, it's on a molecular level. Yeah, Vash, I love that everything about him is like black. It's great. He broke it into countless particles and crystallized it. But it's not going to stay in that shape for long. That's why he's trying to get away and get rid of it. And then Wolfwood saves Meryl because he's like, I owe for the cigarettes. And he's like, let's skedaddle and get out of here. I'm glad that Wolfwood's fine. I'm glad that Wolfwood made it out with Meryl. I'm like, good. And I'm glad Wolfwood's like, look, we have no part in this battle. Let's go. And so hopefully they got out of there in time. Obviously they weren't affected by the blast. Wolfwood's out there, right? I'm sure he's looking for Livio and Blue Summers. We'll talk about that later. But then the two brothers, I love they both look like angels in this moment with their wings flying in the air and flying around. It's great. I like the Noodle Man got his, face stepped on, although they all died, so that sucks. And then Vash kept trying to get the cube back. What's so sad is that Vash kept telling them to get out and get away and that they weren't safe, and they kept shooting at him. And, Knives chides him, and he's like, look, these people are still trying to hurt you. And it's like, well, yeah, because they think that Vash is, the threat, which up until 5 seconds ago, he kind of was. But Vash is like, he doesn't care. He's going to keep trying to win humanity over and be able to coexist with them. And when Knives says, our powers are too great and humans will never understand. I don't know. I feel like Meryl kind of goes, Meryl is the antithesis of everything Knives tells him. Because Meryl should feel like Vash's power is too great and be scared of him, but she's not. She still wants to understand him and know him. And I think that as long as there's one person that's able to do that, then Vash is going to keep trying as long as somebody believes in him. Again, I compare Vash to the main character of Heaven Official's Blessing because he's very similar to that. And similarly, in Heaven Official's Blessing, the main character is put through a lot of trials and tribulations like Vash is, but there's this constant message that as long as one person believes in them, then it's worth them suffering through to keep trying. As long as one person can have faith in them, that's all it takes. And I like that. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And so I'm glad that Vash has that in Meryl. And I think he's going to keep having that in season 2, or so I hope, right? And Knives is just like, there are enemies. And the thing about it is that Vash is kind of like, no, you're wrong. And it's like all Knives has done, like Vash keeps trying to get along with them, and Knives has done nothing but make it to where that won't happen. Like Knives has no faith, and Vash keeps having faith. And I finally am glad that Vash confronts Knives about his statement. He's like, well, your own actions contradict you. And Vash is like, yes, I know, but I'm going to keep doing it. Even if I have to run away. If they hurt me, I'll just run away and come back later. I'll just keep doing it until we can coexist. I won't stop trying. And then having like his arm and everything become the gun trying to contain the cube and all of that. And then going up into space. Oh my God. It's great. So I guess the doctor, well, no, the doctor didn't die because he took off in the spaceship. He took the spaceship with all of the other plants away. So there is the spaceship with the plants still on board. So yeah, the spaceship with the plants are still gone. So there's that. And in 2 years, who knows what's happened. Right? I wouldn't be surprised if the doctor like found Knives and he was like barely alive and he took him and put him in, you know, into a cryogenic sleep or something to like heal him back up, whatever. Who knows what could happen. We'll talk more about in the spoiler corner. But I love this confrontation. There's the voice acting with Knives' voice actor and Vash's. There is such like a desperation with Knives' voice actor that he was just trying to have Vash listen to him. And Vash is like, you don't understand. Like, I don't just care for you. I care for others too. And he's like, since when have we been so different? And when Vash is crying, he's like, since when did we differ so much? And like, he's just finally realizing how different him and Knives are. Because he's sitting there like shedding tears over what he's having to do. And Knives is not. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you saw how they're running our brethren red and killing them off. And I just love that Knives, they're like the two wings, right? He's like, the humans will never understand our independence. They only see us as slaves. And Vash is like, that's not true. And he's like, what has changed that day since 100 years ago? And he's like, even if they hunt me, I'll just run away. And I mean, it's not a spoiler for the OG series. It kind of is, but Vash running around, running away is kind of like how you start when you see Vash at the beginning. And it's like, oh, it's so good, right? It's so good. I'll just keep running away and I'll run as far away as I have to. And when things calm down, I'll settle by their side again because I'm Vash the Stampede. I love that Knives is like, that's your answer? You're just going to keep running until you can settle down with them? And Vash is completely pleased by that. He's like, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And he's like, after more than a century, that's your answer. And then, yeah. And the sad thing is that when Vash like goes into space, Knives tries to contain it again, tries to grab it. And then the thing that is so terrifying, he says, there's no Nye, you killed him, is that even up to the very end, Knives kept blaming Vash for everything when all of these things he's blaming him for are things that he caused. Knives crashed the ship. Knives killed Rim. Knives hunted down all these people. Knives used his brother as a literal tool to try to impregnate a bunch of plants. Knives is jumping in the middle of a firing range and is going to get killed by the blast that Vash didn't even have aimed at him. And he's still trying to blame Vash. It's like he's trying to project all of his own things onto his brother, thinking that his brother can handle it. Oh my God. It's wild. It's wild. And then, yeah. The thing about it is that, and the shot of them like holding, like looking up at the stars together. and just looking up into space. That's so sad. Oh my God. And he's like, I'll do it. I'll create it. No fear, no pain, no humiliation. I'll win a place for us. A paradise. A paradise for us. Ugh. I hate it. Do I think Knives is dead? No, I don't think that Knives is dead. Because he didn't fully disintegrate. But I think he's going to be out of commission for a while. And then as the spaceship moves away, there's a giant gaping hole where July was. High noon at July. I love that it starts back to episode 0. Love it. Like this was all a prequel. Like this was all just a prequel to the story starting, right? Right? And then what used to be the third city of July and 60 wanted dead or alive, $60 billion. And then we see Meryl taking a new pack of cigarettes back to the flask. I love she shed some of the clothing that she was wearing because it's freaking hot outside. Also, I kind of like it that it's showing that she's like matured. So she's not as innocent as she was anymore. But I like to think it as, it's not, there is a fine line between like sexual empowerment and objectification. And for Meryl, it's like her shedding off like the little, like the shirt and everything. Like she looks older. She like looks more mature. And it kind of like is like empowerment for her. Like she's an older woman now. It's been 2 years, right? And then we see Zazie being like, what you doing? Turning Vash the Stampede into a villain. I don't understand. Why'd you do that? And thanks to the twins, a bridge was cast across the void. This is a warning. Very soon they'll arrive, crossing over the wall of light. So the question that Zazie is saying is it plants or humanity coming? The end credits make it seem like humanity has found Project Seeds and they're coming to check things out, is what it sounds like. The humanity's caught up to the ships that were crashing and they're like, oh, what's this? But Zazie makes it feel like the plants are possibly going to come over through the bridge. So I don't know. That's going to be what remains to be seen, right? From Earth. Now he says from Earth, so maybe that is humanity. Maybe he's talking about humanity coming. And Zazzy's like, well, we'll always be watching you. Be in this weird neutral party to see what's going to happen. So then we have Meryl finding out that she's been in July and she's going to be keep acting up like this and they'll send you off to the insurance society. Ha ha ha! Which, it's not really a spoiler at this point, but in the OG series, Meryl starts out at an insurance company. So that's a nice little callback to that. I've got so much to talk about in the spoiler corner. And they're like, they're assigning you a newbie named Thompson. They want to be under you of all people. Her name's Thompson, Millie Thompson or something like that. So she's going to get a new recruit named Millie Thompson that's going to be assigned to her. I do like at the end here that she looks over to the cigarettes and she looks over to the cigarettes that are on the dashboard and she says, hey, you newbie. And we see the Derringer and we see the cigarette butts. Now, Meryl doesn't smoke, I'm pretty sure, because she just puts the pack of cigarettes on the grave. But she keeps the cup and everything to honor Roberto. I do like the idea that I've not liked Roberto's character this whole series, but I do like that in death, he's a way for Meryl to kind of channel him to be like, she's like, well, I'm taking the newbie under my wing and I'm going to be the mature, older, wiser character now. Like, come on, newbie. Love it. Love it. That I'm fine with that. I like that. I like that idea that she's going to channel Roberto as she takes in this newbie, right? Meanwhile, we go back to the saloon and there's a piano and we see there, it looks like, I think it's a woman. Yes. And she's given Vash some food and his hair's grown out. And she's like, it seems like you've been through a lot. Do you remember anything? You're safe here. Uh-huh. And then for a split second, she says Eric's. And for a second, we see his eyes and everything. For a split single second, we see his eye. And it's beautiful. Like, I wish I could freeze frame that. Yes. Oh, it's gorgeous. Like, we just see his eye for a split second. Mm-hmm. But his hair's all grown out. Yes. Ah, I love that. That's such a good shot. So he's been hiding out there the last 2 years, right? His arm's missing because you can see the sleeve and everything. And then we get word at the end when they see the planet. And they're like, is that Project Seeds? Project Pieces of Earth now entering phase 2. The experimental warp drive craft. Yep. And they say there's a fluctuation in the gate. And so like, oh, it's Project Seeds. So we'll just have to see, right? But, oh my God. So we don't know where Wolfwood is. Is he off looking for Livio? Possibly. Is he off looking for Blue Summers? Because Blue Summers kind of disappeared. We don't know. As far as Zazie, I like the idea of Zazie being this third party. Being like, we're just going to hang out and be a neutral presence, whatever happens. Hope you're all okay with that. Like, that's pretty interesting. And then the doctor is still alive, and I'm sure that Alindra is as well. So we'll just have to see, right? There's still so much about her that wasn't really answered. It kind of was, but that she's basically Knives' clone. But we don't get a full explanation. There's still some stuff with Tesla I'm curious about. Is Vash going to get back all of his memories? Who knows? Is he going to remember everybody? Season 2, is Meryl going to run into him with the newbie? And what about Wolfwood and all of that? So I'm so curious to see what they end up doing for season 2. And I wish it was here already. Now I gotta wait, damn it! How dare! How dare! So yes, yeah, when season 2 comes out, we'll be watching that for sure. But I've got lots of spoilers that I want to talk about. And so we're gonna do that. But if you're not sticking around for the spoiler corner, then I hope you enjoyed these reactions and discussions. I'm super on board with Trigun Stampede. I can't wait for the new season. Hopefully, maybe it'll come out late this year or something like that. But we'll be able to watch other stuff in the meantime. So, meanwhile, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more reactions. So this was all just a prequel, huh? So, July. The incident at July. What's kind of cool about this series is that it is combining the OG stuff that happened. It's kind of just taking plot lines from the original series and doing them out of order, but doing them in new ways and incorporating new things into them, which I really, really like. And it makes it fresh and different. So yeah, the July incident, the July city blowing up, we talked about it. It's in the original series. It's the predetermined event that happens that started out the entire series. Everybody was looking for Vash because he destroyed July. And so it's kind of like from there we backtracked throughout the series to get back to that. And here it's kind of like we're starting that. What's interesting is it's combining the incident of July with Legato causing Vash to destroy the city. I forget which city he destroys in the OG series. He destroys a lot. But I forget which one it was in the OG series, but it was about halfway through. It was about halfway through the series when Legato makes Vash's gun activate and it destroys the city the same way July was destroyed. And what ends up happening after that is that Vash goes into hiding as this character named Eric's, and Wolfwood ends up discovering him. And in the OG series, Wolfwood tells him that he has to go confront Knives and Legato, and he can't just keep hanging out in where he's hanging out at. So I think that season 2 is going to be a combination of these plot lines coming together. I think that Meryl is going to find Vash as Eric's. And her and Millie are going to be the one to get him to come back into action. And then Wolfwood will get involved later. Right? I think that's going to happen. Right? Now, I'm so excited that freaking Millie is going to be in this. It makes so much more sense now. I'm very I'm very forgiving of the series now. I still didn't like Roberto's character because I thought at the time, I see what they did with him now. It all makes sense. At the time, I didn't like his character because I was like, well, he's being patronizing to Meryl and he's taking lines from Wolfwood. But now it makes more sense. Now you have Meryl learning and incorporating part of Roberto into her character so that she can kind of be like she is in the OG series where she's more mature and take charge. And she's going to be like that with Meryl because Meryl's very innocent. Millie is very innocent. Millie is a badass, but she's also very innocent, right? What's also fun is that they say that Millie is younger. And I don't remember if Millie was younger than Meryl in the OG series or not, but she is in this one. She's younger. So it's very possible we could still have our Millie and Wolfwood ship. It could still happen. If she's around the same age that Wolfwood actually is supposed to be, we can still make this ship work. This is totally fine. I'm 1000% for this. I'm like, give us Millie and Wolfwood. I need it in my soul. I'm ready for it. I love me some Vashwood. Don't get me wrong. But Millie and Wolfwood are like, mwah, just like Meryl and Vash are. Mwah. Love it. Yes, please. So I'm really excited for Millie to be there. I think personally that Millie will be the one to kind of get Vash to come around because Millie and Vash are very similar in the OG series. So I'm hoping that Millie's innocence and vibrance will reinvigorate Vash from his Eric's persona back to Vash the Stampede. But I do love long-haired Vash. Long-haired Vash is a lot of fun. I'm excited we have long-haired Vash again. I cannot wait. OMG. In the original, there was a girl that helped take care of him while he was Eric's along with her mom, and they knew Wolfwood, and Wolfwood found them to tell them about Legato and Knives. So I don't know if Wolfwood will be the one that comes there and sees them or not. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Wolfwood's going to be looking for Livio. Legato, I said in the discussion that was non-spoilery that the doctor might have gotten Knives and revived him. In the OG series, it was Legato. Legato, who is like a worshiper of Knives, he like was trying to revive Knives after Vash shot his gun at him. Back in the OG series, he was reviving him throughout most of the series to bring him back to full health. I think Legato is going to find Knives and be reviving him because that's what happens in the OG series. I think that's going to be the case here. I think so too, which would make more sense and we get more Legato, which is fun. And then I think that Knives is going to try to basically use Vash over again in a different means or however. But there is the idea that Vash, he shot the gun at Knives in the past, and here Knives got into the line of fire as well. So yeah. The funny thing is, in both the OG series and this series, Knives is the one responsible for getting shot because in the OG series, when July was destroyed, he activated the part of Vash's gate that created the gun. And here, he steps in the line of fire trying to get the core again, which causes the city to get destroyed again. So it's like, in both scenarios, Knives is the cause of it, and then he blames Vash. And it's like, well, quit blaming your brother for your own meddlings. So your brother's just trying to be friends with people, weirdo. So yeah, I'm so excited. This episode had me so giddy. I was so excited to see it. I like, again, the idea that, and seeing Meryl, like, be happy to see the newbie. I feel like there's that little spark in Meryl when she was, like, practicing her line, like, hey, you newbie. There was that little spark in Meryl that I'm happy hasn't dimmed, right? All the bad things that have happened hasn't dimmed that spark. And then Zazie being the third party. Gonna be honest, though, what an amazing callback to the July thing, raising Vash's bounty from 6 million to 60 billion. It all makes sense now. Because at the beginning, I was like, why did you, at the very beginning, I was like, why in the world was his bounty so low? But now we understand why, because we had to build up to this point of July being destroyed and all of that. So, it's just like, and seeing the portrait of all of them together. Yep. Again, I feel for Meryl because she has so much faith in Vash. I don't want that to be diminished, but I hope that we get that in season 2. This episode again was beautiful. I loved all the stuff with Knives and Vash. In comparison to the OG series, I've liked Knives more in this series because we got so much more explanation of it. He's still a villain. He still does some dumbass shit, but he's still Vash's brother. And so there's a part of him that just wants a paradise for him and Vash, and it became his anger and hatred and jealousy of the humans warped that desire for that paradise into something wrong. And it's so sad. But I'm kind of glad that Knives is going to, he's ventured off into space, but I'm sure he'll be back. I liked that ending in this. It gave me very Endeavor vibes from My Hero Academia. I was just thinking of Endeavor and the NOOOO the whole time this was going on. I was like, oh, this is really well done. But in the OG, you know, Vash takes Knives back with him. I still think that's going to happen. I still think Vash is going to try to reincorporate Knives into humanity. It's too soon. Too soon for that to happen, right? But yeah, I wanted Vash to become an angel and have the angel wings so bad, but here him having the wing made out of the vines and stuff makes much more sense. It thematically looks better. I love Vash with the black like coat and everything. It's not red anymore, it's black. I love it. All the expressions and animation between him and Knives in this episode were gorgeous. It was beautiful. The gun that was made looked amazing. And I like that Wolfwood and Meryl are both like, why are you trying to kill yourself, you suicidal maniac? I can't wait for season 2 to see Meryl and Wolfwood and see them again. But yeah, and it's so great because it's setting up that Vash is the one that, you know, saved everyone, but at the same time destroyed July, and at the same time was a wanted criminal, so it matches. When he was saying, if they come after me and hurt me, I'll just keep running away. That's Vash from the first episode of the original series, where the Vash that we know is running away but still trying to help humanity is the Vash that we know from the OG series. So I need season 2 Vash to say peace and love. I need peace and love from Vash season 2. I need it in my bones. I need peace and love. I need that so bad. But this was wonderful. I loved this. And then, yeah, all the Neon Genesis like imagery. It was great. Every bit of it. I need more of the theatrics of Knives in season 2, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm glad Wolfwood didn't die this season. I'm so glad. I thought for a hot second that Wolfwood was going to come and try to save Vash and Knives was going to kill him, and I was going to be really, really sad. So I'm glad that wasn't the case. Glad that didn't happen. But there's always next season, right? This entire episode was beautiful, and I loved it so much. It's like episode 11, I was so sad when it was over. I was like, why is all this trauma happening to Vash? Why? Where's our sweet Vash? He wants to save humanity and be kind to them, and this episode made up for it in spades. Oh, this episode was amazing. Loved it. Loved it. So I'm ready for Millie. I'm ready to see what Wolfwood's been up to. I'm ready for Vash to see Meryl again. I don't know if Meryl and Millie will have donuts to give to Vash. That's the thing. I love the insurance society joke that's what it was. It'll be hilarious if this next season starts out with them getting transferred to the insurance society. That would be funny. Or maybe they'll do season 3 or something if they even do a season 3. That would be really, really hilarious. And plus, if they do a season 2, you'll end up with 24 episodes. So the first season, the OG series is 26 episodes. So we'll see. I'm curious how this whole bridge with humanity is going to play into this. If that's going to be like the big inciting action. Because we've technically, you know, I'm sure next season we'll have to include Millie. And we'll have to run through some of the beats of Vash being on the run and being wanted by everybody. But my talk in the corner there. But you can only do that for so much because we've done that in this season already. So I'm going to be curious to see. And Wolfwood supposedly saved his orphanage. So are we going to tie back to Wolfwood's orphanage? Any of that? What are we going to do that? Is Wolfwood going to be an actual priest? So many questions. I'm so excited. So I'm really sad that this is the end of Trigun Stampede for now. I've really enjoyed this. The good news is, in April, I'm supposed to be getting the manga, at least the first volume of the manga. So I'm definitely going to do a reaction to that. And hopefully try to get other volumes to do reactions while we wait on season 2. So I loved this. I loved all the connections to the OG series and the fact that this was all leading up to basically a prequel to the series starting again. I need Mid-Valley season 2. I'm gonna wonder if there's gonna be more Gung Ho Gang members in season 2 that we didn't see. They're gonna come out of the woodwork, and that's gonna be interesting to face. I still think Legato, because Vash didn't have to confront that idea of killing someone, except for with Rolo, Wolfwood's the one that killed him, but Vash didn't have to do the deed of killing someone this season. So I'm curious if Legato is going to make him do it next season. If Knives is going to be like, if Knives is getting revived and he's telling Legato and he's like, I want you to make my brother suffer for choosing humanity over me. Now it makes more sense, right? Because even at the beginning, like in the OG series, Knives' reasoning of why he wants to make his brother suffer so much when he's trying to create a paradise for him, it made sense, but it could have been stronger. Now, no. It makes sense of why Knives would want Vash to suffer. So that's going to be interesting to see if Legato goes through with it, what we get with that. There's so much potential with how they could take the storylines from the OG series that we've seen kind of remade in this version and where they could take it. And I need it. I'm so excited. So in the meantime, while we wait on the manga, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. I am in love with Trigun Stampede, and I cannot wait to hopefully dive into more of it when it comes out later this year. So, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, we'll start a new series next week on the channel, and then hopefully I'll have the manga out in April to review. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back very soon with more reactions. Peace and love. Bye.